Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gay Replay, Our Life Beginnings and Always, the Derek DLC. I have been waiting for this DLC for so long. For those of you who are not familiar with this game just in general, if I should have a link down in the description below that shows my blind first time playing through this massive game, this massive visual novel game, where at least by default, you're introduced to this character named Cove, who is meant to be... I guess it depends on how you play through the game. They could either be a platonic friend with you, they could be a romantic interest of you, or maybe not at all. Maybe not even friends at all. Anything and everything in between. And I played through the entire game from beginning to end. It was one of my favorite and what I thought one of the best executed visual novels that I've ever played. But there was another character in the game that I grew particularly attached to, that I really was interested in pursuing a relationship romantically, and that character is Derek. He is a character that the developers ended up creating a DLC just to develop an even deeper relationship with Derek, possibly even more than friendship. So that's what the premise of this Let's Play is. It is a partially blind Let's Play in that, obviously, I've played through the game once with the choices that I made. I'm probably going to make some different choices from what I made before, some of which are probably going to be just for my own plain curiosity. I might just choose completely different or completely opposite choices based on, how I played them the first time. Not that I remember every single choice that I made, but at least that's the goal. And a lot of the content for the Derek DLC doesn't actually happen until what they call Step 2. Step 2 is when many of the I think there's some new scenes or new moments, and I think Step 4 also is another step that has a lot of the new moments. So my goal is, I'm not going to be playing through every single moment in this game because I think that would be a little bit too much, but I think I'm going to at least play completely through all of the default scenes. There's every single step has a default storyline that happens, and then in between you can do as many moments as you want. So I'm just gonna focus mainly on the default scenes plus the new moments for Derek and any of the original moments that happen to involve Derek. And then all the other moments I'm just gonna skip, because I don't think it's necessary for this LP. And I got a lot of other games I also want to play. So I do want to experience the entirety of at least the Derek content as much as possible. My relationship with Cove, I am planning on being totally different. I don't plan on being bitter enemies with Cove, or I'm not purposely going to be mean to Cove, but my character this time around may be more indifferent towards Cove. He's a sweet guy. He's really nice. But for the sake of science, in the name of science, I might choose some things that are totally different from how I, handled Cove in the past. Hopefully, I don't come off as being a frenemy with him. That's not my goal. But I do want to focus more on Derek, because he is mainly the star of this LP. So let's go ahead and start a new file and get right to it, shall we? I'm so excited. Would you like gameplay explanation sections to appear? No, I'm good. Okay, so let's go ahead and build my character again. This time I'm not going to name myself Vaughn, because I only did that because I thought there would be some novelty to having my character's name spoken. But let's see. I originally gave my character the name Vaughn because Hark wasn't available, and I was kind of aiming for the novelty of having your character's name spoken throughout the game. But it ended up not really being that huge of a novelty to me, because every now and then Cove would say Vaughn, which is cool and everything, but by the second or third time it happened, I was like, okay, I mean, that's cool, but it's sort of lost its sparkle. So I'm just gonna name him Harkangel based after me, and I am going to play him mostly, again, the way that I would act. And it's pretty fitting, because between Derek and Cove, I do believe that for me, I'm more compatible with Derek anyway. So I think we actually have a few more options from last we were here. So peach, round, pointed, oval, peach. I think I'm more pointed, or oval. I think I'm more oval. I wouldn't call myself peach. Maybe peach. Maybe I am peach. All right, that's fine. I think I'm pretty much tan. Sharp. Yeah, let's do sharp. There we go. Eye color, brown. Beige. No, I'm brown. And then hair. What's the closest? Oh wow, I feel like we've got a lot more options. No, not sideburns. Oh, wait. Scrappy. I think this is more my hairstyle, at least more so when I was a kid. Nothing in the hair back. No, I like to keep my hair short. Voice name, no, we're good with that. Birthmarks. Didn't really have any birthmarks. Hand size. Hand size? I forgot this is a thing. Medium, I guess. Maybe slender. My hands are probably more slender than... I don't know, I guess mine are medium. I wouldn't call my hands slender. Glasses, not at this age. Not at this young of an age. Birthmarks. I don't think I have any birthmarks. Pants and shirts. I do wear watches. Maybe not so much during this age, but I don't really wear jewelry or hats or necklaces. So I think we're good here. That's pretty close to how I look like in real life. So let's go through this again and see how I do. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of school, less vacation with it. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far outside of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. They saw you every day, but you nodded back to them. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back. No. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today there was a man sitting on the curb outside of your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really, really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your moms had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. You hadn't exactly been listening, You think it'd be okay to talk to new people. They mention that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. You remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. I'm gonna say they mentioned that some people... my parents mostly said this. It's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. That's what they told me. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door. But you were pretty interested in what would know more. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be bothered. You felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door. You slowed down, your mind racing for ideas on how to get past him unseen, but it was too late to escape. There was a split second where your eyes met and you took in a shaky breath, your eyes darting to the sky, pretending to stare at a bird who was hovering nearby. Hey! His voice startled you and made you jump, but you still didn't look at him. The bird landed on top of a nearby gatepost, and its black feathers ruffled against the gentle breeze. Trying to keep your eyes on it was tough, especially when the man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. I'm willing to be friendly, you offered a stranger a smile. The man gives a grin of his own back. Do you live around here? What's your name? Now this is where it gets really uncomfortable. You looked the man up and down, taking his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. I live right here. My name is Hark. I'm gonna say nothing. He's a stranger. You continue to say nothing. If you do, he rubbed the back of his neck uncomfortably, giving you a small smile. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him.
Well...
Could you do me a favor? Now this is, this is sketchy AF. Sketchy AF. Nothing bad, sorry, let me start over. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. Cove, that sounds like a strange name for an actual living person. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. You thought that was pretty cool. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. He wasn't the only person like that in Sunset Bird. I'm like the only person in Sunset Bird who does not like the water. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Hark Angel, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance, and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him.
Do you mind?
But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man. You kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? Had your moms done that for you and Lizzie? The thought made you frown. What do you say? You want to make a deal? You took the bill. You didn't want the money. You ran away. I'm gonna run away. I'm wondering what happens if I try to ignore, as much as I hate to do that. It's for science. It's totally for science. I'm just curious, for the sake of seeing how totally different I can make my relationship with Cove versus how it was in the first playthrough, just for my curiosity. I'm gonna run away. You spun around and made a break for it. Stranger danger. No thanks, old man. You don't offer an explanation, just focus on getting away. No thanks, old man. I won't. You don't offer explanation, just focus on getting away. The music. I've never heard this music before. This is a song I played through the entire game, and I never heard this song in the soundtrack. That's interesting. Do I go stranger danger? I don't even offer an explanation, I just focus on getting away. You turned on the spot and bolted down the street, ignoring his calls from behind you. Hey, come back. I'm sorry if I scared you. Yeah, you were sketchy AF. Cove's dad, Cliff. I didn't know how else to ask. The soles of your shoes slapped against the concrete sidewalk as you ran, heat from the sun warm on your face. Interesting. It just skipped step 1, first sight. I just completely skipped over everything. Eventually, his shouting faded into the distance. You let yourself slow down and try to catch your breath, wiping the sweat from your forehead with the back of your hand. The chirping of crickets in tall, dry grass echoed around you, and you lifted your head to survey your surroundings. You'd run right into the hills behind your house's backyard. From here, you could probably get back inside without seeing the guy again. There was a loose plank on the black fence, too small to fit through, but you could try waving to Lizzie for help. The fence is pretty high, but if you stood on the neighbor's shorter fence post first, you might be able to pull yourself over. You would be able to hide there until he left, then you'd go through the front door. I'm gonna call for my big sister for help. You couldn't yell because the man right might find where you were, but your family would have to see you sooner or later. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. They're forcing the issue. They're forcing us to meet Cove. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have green hair, wavy eyebrows, huge glasses, pink cast sad frowns, green hair. But this new boy did. You watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, he took a step forward, then another, and then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. Hey, Space Cadet. Are you lost? I'll say... Space Cadet. Hey, Space Cadet! With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling and his fists at his sides. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He had been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You obviously caught him off guard. He was your age, but he didn't look familiar. Maybe he was that boy that weird new neighbor had been talking about before you ran. The only way to actually know is to ask. Who are you? I've never seen you. What's your name anyway? You waited for him to say something. Who are you? I've never seen you. He sniffled a little, rubbing at his ruddy cheeks before he answered. I was gonna think, what's your name anyway? Is a little too rude. He sniffled a little, rubbing his ruddy cheeks before he answered. My name's Cove. I'm... You could see him hesitate, shifting his eyes to the side and then back to you again. My dad and me, we moved here. Your guess was confirmed. So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. Yep, you can't own a hill. You shook your head. I'll say, you can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered his hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers, too. The night wind was cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? Why'd your family move? Why are you here? Why'd your family move? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents... They don't want to live together with me anymore. The tears fell fast and heavy over his fluttered cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. Stop crying. I'll say, you'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. Sunset Bird was a nice place to live. It had a beach, playgrounds, a good school. At least you thought so. But from way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Hark!
Cove?
Cove? Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here.
I want to go home.
I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry, I have to. It'll be okay. Sorry, I have to. It'll be okay. Don't worry so much. You can handle it. You have to go. Even if it isn't fair, he's your dad. You stood up, dusting your pants off. If he says you gotta go home, you gotta. Sorry. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not-bandaged arm. Sorry, I still don't want to go. You called out yourself. You waited silently with him. You tried to convince him. You called out yourself. Wanted to go home, you raised your own voice. Over here! Cove's voice soured. He said nothing, but his thoughts were probably pretty nasty at that moment. Sorry, kiddo. For science. Sorry, Cove. It's for science. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you, and they rushed over. Both your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Hark, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove, and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. No, we're just sitting in the grass. Why is everybody acting like this is such a big thing? We're okay, don't worry. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. I'm gonna back him up here. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Mommy gave Cove a small smile, and then she turned back to you. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. Yes, I liked him. He's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. Yes, I liked him. You shrugged. That's a little rude. I was like, you didn't think that was the right word to describe it, but it wasn't, but it sure weren't to describe it, but weren't sure what else to say to your moms. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you.
That's a relief.
Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Hark knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove. Bye. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure, can I show my stuff? It sounds like words. You nodded, ducking your head down. Sure, I'll say, it sounds like words. But with your mom's laugh, the sound overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Cove. This shows how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. Comfort. I'm pretty direct with Cove. I'm pretty direct with him. I'm indifferent. Yeah. I'm pretty direct and indifferent. Yeah. Direct and indifferent. Ready. You won't be able to change it until step 2. Yep, that's fine. Early the next morning, childish indifference. I'm really curious. I don't, so let me just specify, a lot of my responses are not necessarily how I would have responded in real life. I probably would have been way more empathic. I mean, the kid, his parents are going through a divorce. 100% understand. I would have probably been way more nicer to him and way more empathetic to him. But again, I'm just so curious. I'm just really curious. I've already done everything under the sun, for Cove in the previous first playthrough. I married him. He is my other character's love of his life. I'm gonna let that be its own parallel universe. This is in the multiverse. In the multiverse, my character might not be as empathic towards this Cove. But it's okay. It's just a game. It's just a game. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Hark? We're not friends, really. Okay. Direct. With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. Haha, I don't know, am I? Your bowl was entirely empty, so you nodded. Yeah. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster, you look at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mom.
Okay.
Okay, attitude, kid, we see. Good job, he should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then... Oh, and cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. We need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Hart, could you get it? So before I keep going, I'm just gonna say, I get it. Because I am in the other side of the fence here, because I am trying to get my kids to start making friends around this neighborhood. We moved here in this neighborhood 2 years ago, not even 2 years ago, and there are kids all over the place. I never had that as a young child growing up. All through elementary school and middle school, I didn't really have any kids my age in my neighborhood. I would have loved to have had that, but that was just not something I ever had, and I wished I did. And so now that we're in this neighborhood with all of these kids, I want my kids to have at least the option of having some childhood friends here in the neighborhood. So I have started making play dates. I've been strategically befriending a lot of the parents in the neighborhood who I found out had children around the age of my kids. And I'm pretty much doing what Cliff was doing, if I'm being honest. Trying to, like, get... I didn't bribe any of them. Let me just make that clear. I did not give any of the kids money or candy or $20 whatever. I didn't bribe any of the kids to be friends with my kids. But I was trying to, like, befriend their families in general. Fortunately, all of their families are really cool, in hopes that my kids can grow up making some childhood friends. But the irony is, at least for my son, more often than not when we go on play dates, he seems way more interested in spending time and playing with the parents than he does with their kids. Like, quite often, he will actually almost ignore their kid and just want to completely talk to and play with the parents. Maybe he sees the parents as, like, on his level more than their kids. I don't know. But it's a really, like, I find it kind of amusing. I'm sure it's something he will grow out of. But, I just thought it was really funny that he seemed more interested in making friends with the adults than their children. So, me, on the other hand, I'm like, you're trying to force these playdates on me. I feel like I'm my son. I'm like, I don't want to make friends with this kid. Like, why are you? It's like you're fixing me up. It's almost like they're fixing me up with a date. Almost fixing me up with someone. Like, I don't need help. I don't need your help to make friends. I'm holding off for the person that I think I would be really compatible with to be my friend. Thy name is Derek. Not that I know that yet. Hart, could you get it? Because Mom said so, you wandered over to the door. Hey, Angel family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him and Mom and Mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. You studied Cove apathetically. This was his parents' plan, not yours. Not seeming any more excited than you were, he just stared back. Do you want to go play in your room, Hark? Sure. I've got some cool stuff. Come look.
Okay. Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Me too. I drew that. Thank you. I don't. I don't. I'm not gonna be totally nasty to him. So it's like, you have terrible taste, kiddo. Me too. I drew that. I'll say thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a bit nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You were glad for the company. You hoped he liked your room. It's kind of awkward. You wanted to say something, but didn't know what, so you let him keep looking. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I do. Look. You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
Neat. This is a good collection.